Hello everyone, welcome to Sandra's Bible Tales again. Today I'm going to go over the story of Ruth. And the story of Ruth starts off with, it's right after Judges. So the story of Ruth starts right after Judges, and it's in the time where there was judges judging over Israel. And they said that Israel started to get a famine. So because of this, there was a certain man in Israel, his name was Bethlehem, and he was married to Naomi. And he had two sons, and they all went down to Moab. And when they were there, they dwelt there 10 years. But this man died when he was there, and his two sons married. They married two sisters, and the sisters were named Ruth and Oprah. And the two sons, after they married, they also died. So I don't know if it was a generational curse or what, but they died. I mean, they were not supposed to go to Moab to begin with, and they did. So they all died, and Naomi hears that now back in Israel, after 10 years, she hears that there's prosperity, that there's food again, so she decides she wants to go back to Israel. And she tells her daughters-in-law, I'm going. So they start their journey with her. And she says, no, you ladies, like, go back to your gods, go back to your family, go back. Like, I have nothing else to offer you. I'm too old to have sons. And even if I did, are you going to wait for them? Because remember, in that time, when a woman was married to someone, and if that man would die, either the brother would be the one to normally marry the woman so that the inheritance and the last name would continue. But this woman says, just go back to your people. And they both weep bitterly, the two daughters-in-law, and Oprah leaves back to her parents' house. But Ruth says, don't do this to me. Like, don't separate me from you. She clung to her, and she says, I want your God to be my God, and I want your people to be my people. And the Bible says that she was like, let death be the only thing to separate us. And the Bible says that when Naomi saw that Ruth was determined, so determination can be perceived, and it was perceived. When Naomi saw, it doesn't matter what I tell Ruth, she's not going to let go of me. She said, like, I'm not even going to bother. Like, I'm not even going to tell her to go back. It's okay. Just come with me. And when they go back to Israel, it says that the Israelites made a fuss, a big deal. And they were like, wow, look, Naomi's back. And Naomi says, I don't want you guys to call me Naomi anymore, because Naomi, it meant, what does the name Naomi mean? One second. The name Naomi means... The name Naomi means pleasant. She said, I don't want you guys to call me Naomi because that means pleasant. I want you guys to call me Mara. Mara means bitter. So she said, call me bitter for seeing that God has dealt with me bitterly. And the reason she says this is because, of course, her husband and her two sons had died. And so she goes back, and Ruth tells her mother-in-law, look, I'm going to go glean the fields. I'm going to go work because we need to live off of something. And Naomi agrees. She's like, yes, that's a good idea. Go, So she goes to this field, and she starts gleaning. And there's this man, the owner of the field. He notices her, and he tells his servants, who is that maidservant that's picking up and gleaning? And they said, that's Ruth. She's the Moabite that came with Naomi. Now, this man, Boaz, was in a way related to Naomi's husband who had passed. So he would have been next to marry Naomi. So he notices Ruth, and these men tell her, these men tell him, she's been gleaning here. She's been working. She only got a little bit of rest, and she, she came with Naomi. She's been good to her. So this man Boaz goes up to Ruth, and he says, I don't want you to go to any other field. Work here. I've already told all my servants that they cannot, molest you, that they cannot bother you. You're going to be protected here. I'm going to make sure that you're treated well here. And she breaks down, and she bows down, and she's like, what have I done to find favor in your eyes? Like, why are you being so good to me? I'm a foreigner. Like, I don't even deserve this. Because foreigners were not considered the best of people. Even Jesus, when he came, he says, I want you to be good to foreigners because they feel like outcast. People treat them bad. So, she's like, why are you being so good to me? And he says, well, I've heard everything that you've done for Naomi. I heard about your kindness, about your goodness, about even look at how you're working and you're doing stuff for her, like you're a kind woman. And he goes, and I'm repaying you for that. May God repay you for all the kindness that you've done. And so she's happy. He feeds her. He's good to her. And when she goes home to Naomi, and she shows Naomi everything, that she was able to glean, because he even said to his servants, I want you guys to throw things on purpose on the floor so she can pick it up without even noticing that it was on purpose. And I don't want you guys to rebuke her. So when she goes to her mother-in-law, she says, look at everything that I've gleaned. She says, wow. She's like, what field were you in? Like, you did pretty good. And she was like, I went into the field of this man named Boaz. And Naomi starts worshiping and praising God. And she's like, wow, God is so good. He goes, God led you straight to the field of our relative. Like, that man is next in kings, meaning that Naomi knew, I can marry him. He's a man of wealth, and God has led me right to him. But Naomi was being so selfish. She had already married. She had already had her 2 kids. So she thought of Ruth. She thought, why not Ruth marry him? So she tells Ruth, this is what I want you to do. There was this feast, a celebration going on, and there was this custom where the men would sleep. I don't know exactly if it was a little bench or something outside or what, but they would sleep in the outdoors. And Naomi tells Ruth, I want you to go and I want you to follow him without him noticing, without anyone noticing. And when he's asleep, I want you to lay down by his feet. So in the middle of the night, when Boaz wakes up, he finds this woman laying down at his feet. He's startled. He's like, what are you doing? Who are you? And she says, it's me. It's your maidservant Ruth, Naomi had told her, when he sees you, he'll know exactly what to do. So he's not stupid. Back then, the customs were like that. So he says, wow. He goes, this is even more kinder than before. He says, you haven't even gone after a young man, whether rich or poor, but you came after me. He was like, wow, don't worry about it. I'm going to do you good, He says, don't have fear. I'm gonna fight for you. He goes, but however, he says, there's a man that is closer, a relative than I am. So it's his right for him to marry you. But I know what I'm going to do. So go in peace. And Ruth goes to his mother and to her mother-in-law, and she says, he says that yes, that he was gonna do what he needed to do, whatever it takes. And so Boaz goes to this other man, which was also a relative that was next in line to marry Naomi, or now in this case, because Naomi was good to Ruth. And he says, our Bethlehem, he had a field. Do you want to buy this field? Or because if you don't claim it, I'm next and I can claim it. And this man says, yeah, I want the field. I'm going to claim it. And he goes, okay, but if you claim that, remember, you can't have one thing and not the other. If you claim that, you have to marry Ruth because that's the custom. And he says, marry a Moabite? Like, no way. Because remember, God had told his people he didn't want them to be with foreigners, strangers. They had different practices. They worshiped different gods. However, in this case, it was different. And Boaz knew it because Ruth had renounced to her past. She had renounced to the gods that her parents served. She had renounced to that. She told Naomi, I want your God to be my God, and I want your people to be my people, and I will serve you. So because of the fact that Ruth let go and renounced of her past and said, I don't want anything to do with this, I accept only God now, it was different. So Boaz said, okay, so since you want to have it, let it be. There's witnesses here. Take off your sandal, because back then how they would make deals and pacts and stuff like that, they would take off their sandal and give it, their sandals. And that meant, okay, yes, it's done. It's like a seal. It's like the ring sing or whatnot. You seal the deal. So he sealed the deal in front of all the witnesses. And then this man was able to marry Ruth, and he married Ruth, and hey, God was glorified. So this is a story of Ruth. It's a very pretty story. You can read it yourself and see all the details and everything. So thanks for watching Sandra's Bible Tales. Have a good day.